Yeah.
Dog.
Is
Yes.
the green box at the bottom?
Yes.
Coming through on there.
Yes, sir.
I see it today.
Okay,
Introduction.
introduction. Welcome to the Garden of the Spirit, a class studying apples from the orchard. This class meets in Long Meadow, Massachusetts, and is held in memory of Malka Ruth Bas Moshe, Margaret Vogel of blessed memory. Apples from the Orchard contains selections of teachings of Kabbalah from the Arizal, Rabbi Yitzchak Luria, based on the weekly Torah portion, translated and explained by Rabbi Moshe Wisniewski. Kabbalah contains mature subjects, requires both emotional maturity and a mature understanding of Torah, have a solid foundation of background of Torah. Okay. Last week, you guys ready? So last week was very, was difficult, was challenging. We talked about, we talked about the, was it 2 birds that are needed in order to purify somebody from saras.
One that sacrificed, one still lives.
Any 2 birds, or which birds?
2,
Doves?
yeah, 2 birds.
Which ones? Birds? Doves?
Think they're doves, or turtle doves,
Yeah.
or dove turtles.
Two doves.
And, oh my gosh, yeah, one is slaughtered, or the,
Sacrifice.
and the blood is put into the basket. The other one is sent away. Oh yeah, we had 4 things, right? The world of Atzilus, huh?
Just says ritually pure birds. Does not specify.
The world of Atzilus, there is only klipa, or evil, from the back of Zeranpin. And Yetzira, in the second level, Bria, there is the klipa from the back of Ima and the back of Zeranpin and Nukva. And Yetzira, there is klipa, or potential for evil, from the backs of Abba and Ima, Zeranpin and Nukva. And finally, in the world of Asiya, this klipa extends not only to Abba, which is Chachma, but even to the highest, to Arachampin. Those are some things that we
Wow.
said. And yeah, keep in mind that klipa is a shell, and it's connected with evil. I don't know if we're going to say that klipa itself exactly is evil, but klipa has the potential. There are different types of klipa. And as we've said, that the klipa is the name given because it's the shell for the fruit, the peel, or the shell of the fruit, which protects the fruit, and it's necessary in order for the fruit to grow. Okay, we'll discuss this later as we get in. We are in 594. Vida ki kamo, where it says, just as all the holy partsufim. Okay? Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Ready, Alan?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Just as all the holy partsufim possess intellect, so do all the impure partsufim, both male and female. The difference, however, is this. The male and female evil partsufim possess only 2 brains, that is, Chachma and Bina, while the male holy partsufim possess 3, Chachma, Bina, and Das. The holy female Partsufim also only possesses 2 brains, that is, Chachma and Bina. For as we are taught, woman's das is light.
That's a famous line, Nashim Daitan Kalos, that by women, their das, or their mind, is kal. Kal literally means light,
Like,
like lightheaded,
light, like not heavy.
light. That means
Airheaded?
not airheaded, or women are very concerned with their weight. Light, they want to be light. Right, so there are many different explanations for this, and generally what we say is that their level of das is different than men, and I think it says that we'll see what it says in the Gemara. This is used at least in one place in Gemara when Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai spoke bad about the Romans' occupation in the yeshiva, and word got out of what he had said. So at first, he and his son hid in the yeshiva. It's like really good hiding place. And his wife would bring him food every day. And he said to his son, he said, if they follow your mother and they torture her to find out where we are, that wouldn't be good, and she might reveal where we are. So he used this expression, Nashim Daitan Kalos. He said he was worried for her. He was worried for her health. He was worried for that she may unwittingly give away their place, or through torture, not through torture. So they said, let's go, and that's when they left, and they went where?
To a cave.
The cave.
Na-na-na-na-na.
Yes, they went to the cave.
With music.
The Bat Cave.
Not the Bat Cave.
And they ate carob
I
all
got
the
it.
time.
It took me a little while. I'm
That
sorry.
cave.
I got it. I'm slow. No, okay.
He was singing the-
Sorry,
he
I'm
got it
poisoned
right
by
away.
culture,
They,
pop culture.
Oh, no.
yeah, you can go to the cave today. It's in an Arab village. You can go visit.
Yep.
Yes, they had carob and water. They were totally, what's the word? Bereft, relieved. They were totally divested of any earthly
Possession.
luxury.
Luxury.
And what a lot of what we would consider as necessities, also they were removed from that.
Yeah.
Okay, you better read the explanation. And by the way, so in the Shalah, he talks about kal, nashim daitan kalos, which is light. So kal for light is kuflamet is 130. And they connect it with the 130 years that Adam separated from his wife Chava after the sin of the Garden of Eden. They also connect it with the 130 years that from when time that Yaakov entered Egypt, and his daughter Yocheved was actually born at the entrance, and Moshe was born 130 years later, and that so yeah, they connect it with those 130. Exactly what they are, I don't remember what the connections are. When I read it, it was good. Okay, Ellen.
Chachma is the flash of insight that pierces through the evil,
Another veil.
Veil.
so the veil of the sub or superconscious into the conscious mind. It is an ephemeral experience, since by its very nature, an insight is foreign to the mental structure into which it is introduced. Being a foreign entity, if it is not in some way integrated into the mind, it will simply disappear and be forgotten. Therefore, the task of Bina is to integrate this new insight into the mental structures and thought patterns the individual already possesses. This is a process of translation and evaluation, translating the insight into familiar terms and evaluating the existing mental structures and ideas in terms of the new insight. Does this new insight confirm or contradict what I already know and believe? And if so, to what extent? And so on. Bina thus distinguishes, Hebrew bain, between reality as reflected in the insight and as conceived of prior to the insight, and reconstructs, Hebrew boneh, the person's mentality in the wake of the insight.
Wow. The word bain means between in Hebrew. And so here they connect it with
Distinguish. Difference.
Lehavin. I'm sorry, and so they connect with bina,
Yeah.
with analysis, understanding, because you're distinguishing between ideas and between concepts, and also with bonnet, to build. Wow. Okay, go ahead.
Still, all this is abstract mental activity. It is the function of the third component of the intellect, das, to make this new picture of reality relevant and meaningful in a person's day-to-day life. Now that I understand reality in a new, higher way, what does that say about how I have been living my life and how I should be living it from now on?
So that puts into reality, it applies. Das applies what you've done in Bina.
Which reality? Which reality?
Just simple, your life.
Well, for the
My
idea,
reality is not your reality and vice versa.
Applying. It has to do with how you apply it.
from the abstract concept to the more real idea, and then
To your own personal
Your own personal reality.
internalization of that process.
So I like that better. I like that statement better.
Okay.
We now begin to see the essential difference between good and evil, or more precisely, holiness and mundaneness. The drive of holy intellect is always to seek the relevance of insight, understanding, and knowledge. The intellect of evil has no such drive. It is entirely content to focus on the experience of the insight, the wow or high, without polluting it with moral concerns or relevance. For it, then, life is a succession of sterile experiences, titillating in and of themselves, but which produce no lasting fruit or change in the individual's or society's life.
That's what,
Yep,
yeah.
yeah.
Say it, Jim.
That's what we are in, and we need the holiness of the male to be able to bring about some of this process to change, because that's what's necessary.
Well, before, yeah, we were talking before about all the, what do we call it? All the people in Colorado that
I
were,
was talking about the people in
that were
Colorado
blown.
that were destroyed.
Young people, huh?
Young people who were begging on the streets, and whose lives are without anything but the high and the wow and the intellectual kind of circular evil that goes on in their life, and they are so cut off, and so it's so sad to see them block by block. Young people between the ages of 20 and 30, I mean, just unbathed, unkempt, just beautiful kids who are just wasting away with little signboards saying help. It was very sad to see that. And you'd go down very nice neighborhood, and there'd be one after another, 2 blocks, every 2 blocks. I was in shock to see this kind of experience. I've never seen anything like that. I've seen people on the street, I've seen people in Jerusalem begging, I've seen all kinds of beggars, et cetera, et cetera. But so many people who, at the point of their youth, have gone so awry in that wow, in that high, without having relevance, without having any meaning internalized for themselves. And it becomes I keep doing a circle, but it's almost like a merry-go-round of this high and this wow without any life. It is so sad to see. And this, I just got that image here when I saw it. It just,
Okay.
Women are also not granted a priority, this third component of intellect, since, as we said, their innate intellect is already fully subjectified and oriented towards translating abstractness into relevance. Women acquire das fully when they marry and can then combine their own intellects with and fully benefit from their husband's more abstract intellects.
All right.
So women are more pragmatic, or
yeah,
Women's intuition.
yeah.
Women's intuition in Torah, we had this, I think, on our first class that we did, or first or second class, is this Bina. The Gemara says that Bina Yisera Ba'isha Yosem B'ish, that the woman has an extra degree of Bina, of understanding. And that would be the women's intuition. But that would be Bina. This is Das.
They concretize. They make things concrete.
They're already doing that, but that's not Das for them.
we didn't get there yet?
We aren't that.
The outflow from Bina is Das, right? Chachma Bina Das.
Yeah.
But Das is in the middle.
Right, but it's
Das is in the middle. It's between, it's on that center line. It's got both Chachma, Bina, Das. It isn't, it comes from them both together.
Sounds like, like Atzilus and
And when we talk about when Abba and Ima
Yeah, because
are together,
so-
when they're together,
you
when they're
say?
holy,
beings
when
start in
Abba and
Beria,
Ima are
or-
together holy, then
beings
you
start
have a
in Beria?
Das that's holy.
So a concrete idea starts in Das,
Ah.
correct? So you have it.
Das is how to apply it.
But when I say when Abba and Ima are both holy, and you come to a holy Das, which is what this is, then you're getting the flow of
Yeah.
both of them together to this place which is what they're talking about here, where the Das is the internalization of the combination of Abba Ima together in a holy way.
Okay.
I'm
All right.
just
Yeah,
pointing.
that's what
Yeah.
we
I'm not 100% clear on
been talking.
exactly what it is, but it is what it is.
All right.
Again, thanks for
flow.
everyone's commentary. Okay, Jim, middle of 595.
This concept is alluded to in the Zohar. Okay, Zohar, right here. All right. The other god, that is evil, is emasculated and has no desire to procreate. It does not multiply or bear fruit. Be fruitful and multiply. For were it to bear fruit, it would turn the whole world into chaos. The explanation of this is in accordance with the verse, Ephraim shall say, what more have I to do with idols? When I respond and look at him, I become like a leafy cypress. Your fruit is provided by me. Forsaking idolatry, the evil orientation, is thus associated with fecundity, which is exactly what I was seeing. I was seeing this kind of death state of circularity without anything fecund. It's almost anti-life.
What's fecundity?
Fecundity is
Produce
production
offspring.
of progeny and fruit and
Fruitful.
Fruitful,
you're
be
productive.
fruitful.
You're fecund,
Productive,
you have a lot of
positive.
a lot of fruit.
I think it's in my list of wacky words that I compiled.
Yeah, I mean, it's choose life, you know, choose good. Choose all of that stuff at the end of Deuteronomy.
What did you just read, Jim?
What I just read was this concept to me, forsaking idolatry, the evil and torture is just associated with fecundity.
So is that in the?
Because Zohar,
Aleinu?
there's no desire.
Some sort of-
The evil doesn't desire to procreate. It does not multiply or bear fruit. It's sterile.
Which is a good thing.
It's sterile, this kind of circular. I don't know, I keep saying it's circular. I don't know why.
I just watch a movie called The Circle.
Anyway, fecundity.
Well,
Like this.
synchronicity.
So,
Yes.
keep going.
Yeah. So that according to this, evil does not produce. It's not productive
It's good. I mean, it's
Does not reproduce.
or reproduce.
Does
doesn't have
not
an
fecund.
intent,
It's
Okay.
Definitely.
Has a few. Go ahead. Let's see
In
what it
other
says. I
words,
have a few thoughts on this.
the supernal coupling of the holy Zeranpin and its nukva, okay, produces fruits, which is the souls of Israel. The nefesh, the innate life force, issues from nukva directly. The levels of neshama, breath of life, and ruach, spirit, however, originate in the male Zeranpin, which couples with the nukva. The seminal drop transferred through intercourse comes from the brain of Das, for it is this brain that reconciles and bridges the male's two other brains, Chachma and Bina. No coupling is possible without Das. This is why the Bible refers to intercourse as knowledge. And Elkanah knew his wife, Adam knew Chava, blah, blah, blah. Right. Hannah, no man can know her, and many such others. The reason is because without Das, there can be no intercourse at all. As we said, Das is the subjectification of the intellect. This is the element of the female within the male, the aspect of his intellect that propels him towards making his abstractness relevant and concrete. It is therefore the point in his mind that allows him to get out of himself and to be sensitive to his other half or spouse. And particularly, oh, this is unbelievable, to develop an appreciation for her innate drive towards actualization or concretization of divinity in this world. So when Das comes from that place, we get out of ourselves, our own ego, and concretize divinity into the world.
So one thing that's amazing.
It's unbelievable.
How you have, it's amazing how you have a word that carries very powerful implications. Das, if you ask someone to translate Das, they would today in common usage, and in general in Torah, it would refer to knowledge,
Simple knowledge?
simple knowledge.
But it's a real knowing. It's knowing like Adam knew Chava.
The common usage
Okay,
of the idea of Das is knowledge.
Even one of those political wisdom, understanding, and knowledge. So I remember, I don't remember one of those. It will come to me. Jesse Jackson talked about wisdom, understanding, and knowledge.
Oh,
Jesse Jackson?
Yes, once. So I said, "Ooh, I read that in probably in the Shacharis at some point. Wisdom and knowledge." So
Yes,
So it's
in all three.
Chochmah, Bina, and Das. That's why it caught my
So-
attention that such.
Okay, yeah, sometimes you do come across something like that.
So so the translation is knowledge. So,
So, yeah, it's
So
not,
Bina-
translation is knowledge.
No, Bina, the understanding leads to the knowledge. So you have this abstract concept, maybe not even in words, maybe it's a picture or something. And then Bina understands and translates to Das and becomes concrete knowledge, and you can apply it. But from the idea, from the so-called
It
wisdom-
isn't, when it says Adam knew Chava, it's more
no, we know
as
that.
as a verb.
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
It's
In
not,
common
it's not as a noun.
Yeah, if people ask, did you know her in the biblical sense?
We say Kimola haaretz deas Hashem k'mayim layam achasim, that at that time the pursuit of mankind will be wisdom, because the world, Kimola haaretz dea, the world will be filled with knowledge of Hashem, the way the waters fill the ocean. We
From
have
Isaiah.
Huh?
Isaiah.
Yeah, we have Leman Das Kol Ha'Me'aretz, for the entire world to have the knowledge, for all people in the world, to have the knowledge. I don't remember the continuation. We say it every day. It's in, I think, when Shlomo gave his lecture, his speech at the inauguration, dedication of the first Beis HaMikdash. So it means knowledge. However, when you start to scratch the surface, you start to dig deeper, and we find that Das has much deeper implications and carries much stronger connotations. Why? Why is Das knowledge?
Ani lo
So-
yodea.
Ani lo yodea.
So the yodea comes from Das?
Yes. Yodea is the verb, to know. So, Chassidus, of course, translates or uses the word das to refer to putting an idea into practice. That bridge where you apply the knowledge that you have, or you apply whatever, the wisdom, the understanding, technically, where you're beginning to apply what you know, that is it. And for the word that I always use is apply, application. That's what das is. Now, we do find in the Torah, for example, obviously, Vayeda Adam es Chava, that Adam knew Chava, and then she got pregnant. I guess you could say he knew her intimately. So we have a few places in the Torah also where it uses the word to know in the regular sense, and Rashi is like, just opens up, expands our understanding. I'm sure I've mentioned this before. After the three angels visit Abraham, and he walks with them to escort them towards Sodom.
Sodom.
And I guess he's going to a place where he's overlooking. Today, for those of you who have gone down the road from Jerusalem to the Dead Sea, so every few minutes, they have a stone wall with blue stones like waves, and it says how far you are below sea level. I don't remember exactly the numbers, but 150 meters, 200 meters, and so on. And then when you get to the very bottom, I have a picture of it on my phone, there's just a little marker there standing up and says this is the lowest. I think this is the lowest point. Okay, so anyways, Avram goes towards Sodom, he walks them part way, and Hashem says, how can I keep from Avram what I'm planning? Avraham is destined to be a great nation, powerful nation. All the nations of the world will be blessed through him. And Hashem says, therefore, I got to tell him what I'm going to do with Sodom. And so Hashem says, Ki yadaitiv, because I know about him. That he will instruct his children and household after him, V'shamru derech Hashem, they will keep the path of Hashem, la'asos tzedakah o mishpat, to do charity and justice. And then it continues for Hashem to fulfill for Avram what he had told him. Ki yadaitiv, because I know him that he's going to keep. Rashi says, no, not that I know him. Are yadaitine kitergumo, that tergumunculus, lashon chiba. It's a term of endearment. Kamai moida leisha, to say that someone, we have in the book of Ruth, that someone was known to her husband, like a friend of her husband.
Friend, yeah.
And he gives a few others.
It's connected.
The source of all these meanings is the yediyah, to know. Someone who is dear to another person, mikarva yeslai, he brings him close. V'yoidai, he knows him, umakirai, and he recognizes him. In other words, he knows him thoroughly, and he is endeared to him. That is one, just simple. And then the other one is from today's Chumash. I didn't even notice it, but I know it's here. On those days, king of Egypt died. The people called out groans in anguish to Hashem, and their cries went up to Hashem from the work. Hashem heard their shouts, and he remembered his covenant with Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. Vayar Elokim es bnei Yisrael. Hashem saw the Jewish people. Vayeda Elokim, and Hashem knew. Hashem knew? Hashem saw them. He saw their suffering. What do you mean he knew?
It's a connectedness.
Rashi says, Nosan aleim lev, that he put his mind to them. V'lo heli meinav, he didn't close his eyes. So it means what he saw, he internalized it, so to speak. And he decided, and it doesn't say it, but he's like, okay, time to start the
do something.
wheels rolling. Yeah. So this is from, on the word, this is Rashi from the word yadiya, das. Rashi says that it's a term of endearment. Why endearment? Because you are thoroughly familiar with the other person. And that is this idea here. That's the idea that is, I think, expounded on in Chassidus, and that's emphasized in Chassidus.
If you're only an egotist, you can't be endearing to another person. You can't get out of your own ego in self. That's precisely what this says here in the paragraph. It's therefore the point in his mind that allows him to get out of himself and be sensitive to his other half or spouse. And so it is that connectedness, that endearment, that allows you to get out of it. Otherwise, you're stuck in your own self-gratification. And that's when you can become fecund.
Yes, narcissism is the opposite of narcissism, right?
Right.
Okay. Where are we now? On 596?
In the realm, yeah.
In the realm?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead, Jim.
In the realm of evil, however, there's no das, even in the male. They possess the other two brains, Chachma and Bina, but they lack the third brain, das. There's no, therefore, concept of coupling, and they are, as it were, emasculated, unable to create.
Procreate. Yeah.
Procreate. Procreate.
Yeah.
What did you say?
I said create.
I think.
They,
Similar.
In this case.
no, this is remarkable.
moving forward.
They're wrapped up, evil is wrapped up in itself.
It's wrapped up in
focused
itself.
inward.
Yeah, that's
Narcissistic.
narcissistic.
What's the word that you used?
Self.
Ego.
Ego.
Yeah, and narcissistic, and not
Ego,
interesting, not interested in
Wrapped up in
procreation and producing.
in one's own ego.
You know, in everything we have, there's give and take. You give, you take, but you also give. Chassidus talks about the Yitush is the gnat, that only takes in, but doesn't give out. I guess it eats and it doesn't.
The gnat, no, the G silent.
Well,
He's
in
making-
Chicago, that's how we say it.
You're not in Chicago anymore.
Yes, the gnat. So that they only, even, animals, people, they eat, and then they produce at the other end, and it's very beneficial for fertilizer, necessary for fertilizer. There's a great benefit for it. But the gnat, right, has
You didn't know
no,
that?
so it only absorbs, it only takes, and doesn't give anything. And you think in society of those that are take, and don't give. If I can speak a little politics here, in Texas they discovered oil, an amazing natural resource. They discovered oil, and it fuels their economy. And what do they got for it? You have Rice University, the leading medical centers in the world. They have all these. They benefit people. You have other cultures and other ethnicities, other countries that produce oil. And what happens to the profits? Homes in Boca Raton, homes in Colorado, Aspen, renting and in the priciest areas of LA. Where are the local universities? Where are the local research centers in
Saudi Arabia.
Saudi Arabia?
They're letting women drive now.
Where are they? Where are their research centers, laboratories, universities?
Where are they in
people.
Syria?
Nothing.
Where are they in Iran?
Any of the
Lots of oil there. But
well, Iran has universities.
Well, they're giving back to the people now. In Iran.
Iran, they
Bullets or
yeah, bullets.
they don't keep it.
they're
They
doing a
spread
lot for
their-
the economy of southern Lebanon.
yeah.
So you look at the contrast of what happens to all the of the oil money. It's incredible,
You here?
the difference.
He agrees.
They have doctors, but they're not locally trained. They're sent to England to get trained because they don't have that where they are.
They are beginning to educate women.
To what?
Saudi Arabia, they're allowing women to study
Yeah.
college.
All right.
It's a revolution.
So this is klipa, which is self-absorbed. And doesn't look to produce. Okay, Gershon.
Gershon. It is known that the term other God refers to the male aspect of evil, as is clear from the usage of the Zohar in many passages, particularly on the verse, "You shall possess no foreign God." That is why it calls evil the other God, emasculated, having no desire to procreate. The female shell obviously cannot be called emasculated, but only frigid, as our sages said with regard to the great serpents. It is said that
The
Hashem...
great serpents are what Hashem created on the fifth day of creation. When he created the fish and birds, created Taninim Magdolim, the great,
Leviathan.
Leviathan.
the Leviathan. However you translate the word Tanin. Okay.
Does it say that they're going to make sushi for Yeah,
Yeah,
Moshiach.
from when Mashiach comes.
Whatever. It is said that Hashem castrated the male primordial sea creature, the Leviathan, and killed the female in order to prevent them from procreating and their species overrunning the world. In contrast, when faced with the same problem regarding the primordial beast, the behemoth, he castrated the male but only made the female frigid. The reason why he had to kill the female Leviathan and not simply make it frigid, the Talmud states, is because fish mate even when they are cool.
Really?
They're cool-blooded.
Okay.
Yeah, you ever see a picture of the fish with the sunglasses?
Yeah, they're
Really
cool.
cool. Oh, look at this.
That's Charlie Tuna.
Charlie Tuna?
It's Charlie
Okay.
Tuna.
I didn't know that.
It follows from this that the Jewish people derive their souls from the realm of holiness. Their nefesh originates from Malchus directly, the ruach and neshama from the male, which possesses das. Non-Jews, however, possess only the level of nefesh, and theirs originates in the nukba of the shells. They possess no ruach or neshama for the male side, for the male shell is emasculated, that means possesses no das, brain, through which it could couple with a female and produce a ruach or neshama. This is the meaning of the other God is emasculated and produces no fruit. That means no ruach or neshama originates in the male, meaning the evil male. The fundamental difference between Jews and non-Jews is that non-Jew is charged with keeping the world running smoothly, civilizing it, populating it, and cultivating it, while the Jew is intended to provide the proper divine direction and inspiration for humanity. Therefore, the non-Jew's intellect is inherently this world-oriented. For this reason as well, non-Jewish culture is inherently sterile. That means oriented towards diversion and stimulation rather than moral advancement or holiness.
And they're focused on within the world.
Or their spirituality is absolutely otherworldly.
Is what?
Their spirituality becomes absolutely otherworldly. That's the other end of this. That the non-Jews, they separate the world, spirituality, something
Okay.
outside from the world, this world here.
Okay.
And because of this, because they're oriented to diversion and stimulation rather than the advancement of holiness. So a lot of their religious experience has to be abnegation, absolutely, and monk and separation and non-marriage and things of that nature. It's the opposite end of this type of experience.
I mentioned in the other class, in other cultures, they talk about, reaching heaven. They talk about heaven as this great big ideal, and we speak about bringing heaven into earth, transforming earth into heaven, but not leaving this behind and going up. That sounds like what you're saying.
That's what I'm talking about.
I thought you were talking about a great singer called Richie Heaven.
Ricky Havens.
Never heard of him either.
Richie is like
Haven.
Havens.
Havens.
I listened to Emerson College.
That's how they say it in Argentina.
I think it's Richie.
Havens.
I do want to say that Rabbi Edelman used to point out that what the Jewish soul has, and that the non-Jewish soul has a different source. Whatever he used to say that the angels also don't have what the Jews have.
Right.
I have a question. Going back to what you said, when it says in the Chumash or Torah that Hashem heard their cries and he knew them, Yedea, was that at the point prior to them succumbing potentially to the 50th level?
Was it the point of?
Was it at the point prior to them succumbing to the 50th level?
They were down there. Were they exactly at that point, or
Close.
a few feet away? But they were close.
But that's around the time?
Yes.
That pasuk appears.
The next thing is that Hashem called out to Moshe from the bush.
So they were getting down there.
So there's an absolute connection.
That's why it says the word idea, understanding. So if they had gone to the 50th level, there was never coming any.
Right.
there were never
No coming back.
There was a care. There's a caring. We were cared for. We were saved by
Would have been in
Hashem.
The
Maybe
chaos.
world
sucked
would have
in.
been upended.
We would have been. We were saved by Hashem at that point.
Beyond
And the world
the
was saved.
point.
With no
No
return.
return.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
As the Arizal, am I there? No, I'm not
No.
there.
Where are you
Now,
going?
am I now?
Where'd you get that from?
Where are you
Where
going?
am I?
The nu-
What?
You just finished
That one, the first one?
the first-
597.
Yeah.
The non-Jewish nefesh, in contrast, issues directly from the evil nukba. This is the mystical meaning of the verse. Also, the absence of das makes a nefesh that is not good. The souls of the Gentiles, which originate in the shells, which are called evil or not good, are produced without the aid of das, which is why they also do not possess a ruach or neshama.
Also, it not possess a ruach. Okay.
We'll have to take it at face value.
Rudy, you going to read today?
Yeah.
Okay. Middle of 597.
This is also.
This is also the inner meaning of our sage's statement, it is forbidden to pity someone who possesses no da'at. Someone who possesses no da'at is rooted in the shells, which possesses no da'at. If someone pities such a person, he causes Hashem's attribute of mercy to extend over evil, which possesses no da'at.
Oh, wow. Okay. One of the Rebbe said on that they said, all the more, if you're not allowed to have pity on him, all the more reason to pity him. But, okay.
I get that.
Yeah.
Now,
Okay.
all these different brains in the realm of evil are identified by name in the book Adam Yashar. What sefer is that? Do you know that?
I don't know. Daf Aleph on page 1. Never heard of it.
Adam Yashar.
The Adam Yashar means upright man.
The two brains of the evil Zeir Amin of Atzilus are termed the two spies, as mentioned in the Zohar. The two brains of the evil Nukva of Atzilut are called the two birds. Huh. We see that the Hebrew word,
That's why they call them bird brains.
we see the Hebrew word for bird, sipor, is considered
Feminine,
in many places in the Bible.
Okay, the grammar lesson. The word sipor for bird is automatically, grammatically considered a feminine
Feminine, yeah.
noun. Unless you're specifically talking about a male bird, then it can call him as in the masculine form. But
Which is?
it would be tzipor, still tzipor, but the verbs or the adjectives
It would be masculine.
would, right. For example,
And
the
then
birds
you
that
infer.
Noach sent. Noach sent the male birds out of the ark, so it can refer to them in the masculine sense. We're using masculine grammarology, yeah. But the verbs and adjectives, but just the generic term tzipor bird automatically is connected with feminine verbs and adjectives, feminine forms of the verbs and adjectives. Okay.
Before you go on, Rudy,
Yeah.
the book was written by Rabbi Chaim Vital.
Oh,
That is the person who wrote down all this.
But
He-
that book also, the Damishar was written by him and not included in the 8 gates of the Kifei Ari of Kabbalah. It was just one that was not included in that.
Okay.
But he also wrote, that's why it's referring to it.
Yeah, but it's based on the teachings of the Arizal.
Right. Oh, yeah, I know that, but I'm saying, but that's where, that's
He
what the
just
book
took,
is.
he took what the Arizal said and wrote it down. That's really what was going on. Throughout.
As the Arizal goes on to discuss the purification rites of the individual afflicted with Sa'arat, involves the ritual of the two birds, because these two birds signify the mentality of female evil. This egocentric, self-serving mentality, that of orientation away from godliness and making relevance into the be-all and end-all of life, living life only for the high, the experience, is the root of Sara'at. Our sages tell us that Sara'at afflicts a person because he has indulged in slander, a vicious indication that his egocentricity has so overtaken him that he is ready to make another person into a mere subject of conversation without regard for his feelings or reputation. He must therefore be ostracized, sent out of the camp until his condition passes. As part of his purification, he must take two birds, the chirping personifications of pointless and self-serving indulgence in relevance and experience, and kill one and set the other free. In this way, he utterly disassociates misspelling, himself from his evil and is ready to begin his life anew in the image of holiness.
Disassociates is spelled wrong.
Yeah, it needs an A,
Is there a word like this?
No,
especially in
dissociate-
English
dis-
for England. Disassociates.
This
There's
is,
missing an A in between.
yes.
Dissociates. Maybe it's accepted in America.
Or in Chicago.
Dissociates. We say that in chemistry. Dissociates into ions. So
It is a word.
yeah,
It is a
yeah.
word.
It breaks down into two parts. Dis.
Dissociated?
Yeah,
Dis-
yeah,
di-
yeah.
Disconnect or separate.
That's just, the
In
the
English.
language has gone,
You heard that?
In England, in England they put the A. Disassociate.
It's also
America is dissociate for ions, correct?
Yes,
So, okay.
also for ions.
To attempts to dissociate herself from her past. That's what we want to do here. Okay, it's very complicated with the brains and the male and the female. I don't get all that, but we do find that the tsaras has to do with the klipa, with evil, and by sending, by taking two birds, that is the purification. It shows the idea of sending away the
You got to let go
breaking
of the ego.
breaking the hold of
You got to let go of the ego.
Oh, yeah.
what?
The two birds in Parshas Noah.
Yeah.
One was sent off. Well, they were both sent off. One came back, one didn't. So the one that did was killed.
Or stayed in solid ground.
So it was final
There's a similarity.
final level of purification.
Okay.
The process is done.
Okay. Now this was a little farther out than
What was the final straw with Hashem? It was theft, right?
Where?
For Noah time.
With pre-diluvian. Theft, what was the final straw?
I don't know if there was a final
That
straw.
was
Doesn't
throughout,
say there was a
but
final straw
was
there. It just says
common.
the cause.
it says that, in the breakdown of civilization, besides sexual and governmental, that was theft, there was no law and order in that sense. People would just take. That's how I remember it.
took what they wanted, when they wanted it, when they wanted
It was
it.
theft. It
Yes,
was
yeah.
getting-
Well, it was,
And-
it was.
Robbery.
It-
And immorality.
And immorality, but there was immorality,
Right,
but
the
it was,
immorality Hashem could stand.
it was,
Wasn't so much, you know, it
it
wasn't
was
so much.
idolatry and there was immorality, but it was a theft.
Not idolatry, immorality,
Morality.
and not respecting private property.
No one had, it was all like,
But it's
you have it,
just-
I want it, I take it.
Like,
Idolatry emanated from Seth, according to the,
from Seth? Okay,
according to Shalom.
really?
Yes, it was from Seth that idolatry.
I don't remember that.
The concept of idolatry was born because of the fact that Seth was one of their later children. The people around at that time believed that there was godliness. There was some other level of godliness inside of Shais.
They treated him like a
They treated him
deity.
a deity, exactly. So that's when idolatry was born through Seth.
Okay,
This week's parsha, we have this, when Moshe kills the Egyptian. I read also about that this Egyptian was having relations with a Jew, with the man the wife of the man he was beating. And
we know her name,
yeah, she's
Shlomis Bas Divri.
Bas Divri, and she was a great talker, slanderer, and
Flirt.
and yacker, and her son becomes the person who causes who says Hashem's name in
He
a
cursed.
terrible way about Hashem
Because he didn't get a portion in the
something, yeah, and later
place with the
he
tribe.
was punished,
Cursed Hashem's name.
cursed Hashem's name.
Yeah,
But it was her mouth.
and Moshe, I don't remember all the details, but Moshe struck the Egyptian.
Yeah, by saying.
Moshe was an extension of Hevel, and the Egyptian was an extension of Cain,
Cain.
and Moshe was correcting
Yeah.
what
fixing.
occurred before.
Yeah.
That was one. Yisro was also the extension, but Yisro came to Moshe he after the Exodus, so he was kind of repairing it on his own. And there's one more. I don't remember offhand. One more antagonist. So, okay? That was a short parsha. We did it in 2 weeks.
Hush. Blown away.
Ambiguity, this, I mean,
Yeah.
that one paragraph there was just,
Oh, it
The
was,
wow and the high.
There was another one too.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know.
you go really fast.
This class makes me feel more mundane than